this is Solid Snake. Now, let's get to the damn podcast beyond.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Podcast Beyond.
Beyond.
Wow, that was loud. I am your host, Chris Roper, editor-in-chief of the IGN PlayStation team. And the whole cast is here today. Greg Miller, Jeff Haynes.
How's it going?
And Ryan Clements.
Hey, what's up?
Here we are. Let's kick things off right quick with the Roper Report.
Time for some news.
As everybody knows by now, Grand Theft Auto 4 comes out next week. A little game some people might be interested in getting.
Little game.
It was
Not
confirmed finally after a bunch of rumors and box shots were already up, but it was finally confirmed that the UK and Australia are getting GTA 4 pack-in bundles for the PlayStation 3. So you can buy one box as the system has it's a 40 gig system, comes with the game and a 6-axis controller. Why the hell is it not a DualShock?
They're sending all the DualShocks to America?
Who knows?
Maybe so. I don't that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But anyway.
They're just trying to extort them for more money. I think, wasn't it like the Australian one that was like $90 or something like that? $90 Australian?
Yeah, I don't know.
That would be crazy.
It isn't. It is entirely crazy.
But anyway, anybody that was in either of those territories and was going to get a PS3 right at launch, or right at the GTA launch, well, there you go. Now you have it. But you still have to go out and buy another DualShock. As of today would be Thursday when these things go up. The Echo Chrome demo is up on the PlayStation Network. There's a trailer for it and stuff too. So yeah, you can confuse yourself and
God, that game hurts
do that
my
kind
head.
of stuff.
But it's
Time
so
and
sweet.
space,
It
Ben.
is so sweet.
Criterion announced a pretty cool update coming to Burnout Paradise, which has a couple things that people have wanted in the series for a little while now. One is night riding, because Paradise, when you play
Night Rider?
No, night races. I'm saying. I said night riding, but anyway. But people wanted races at night, which I wanted because I think it looked pretty cool. They got a great lighting engine in the game, so they're adding that. But the bigger part is that they're adding motorbikes, as they call them. Motorcycles. Motorcycles are going to be in the game, so you're going to have that kind of PGR4, bikes versus cars type thing. So that should be pretty rad. And as I've been saying,
No research?
Criterion should be doing Road Rash.
Yes,
So this
they
will-
should.
Oh, that would be
So
awesome.
this will kind of prove about whether or not it would work. You can
That would be phenomenal.
Now, one thing they didn't mention in this, and I want to see, is Burnout obviously has awesome crashes. And you're going to have a dude on a bike. So what's going to happen when the bike crashes?
That's a good point.
So they
Ragdoll.
haven't,
Dude.
Crazy ragdoll.
yeah. So that wasn't in the press release. I don't know. I don't know
funny.
if anybody's gotten a hold of him, gotten the exact word on that. But that's gonna be rad. But that's sometime in the fall.
August.
Oh yeah, August. So there you go.
It would
So
be pretty funny if there was no guy on the bike. It was just the motorcycle driving by itself.
What is it with all the car collision stuff in the fall? I mean, that in the fall, GT5 damage in the fall? What's going on?
Ghostbusters in the fall.
Ghostbusters in the fall, yeah.
Speaking of the fall, the home beta is going to become open in the fall. So yeah, it's half clap.
Well
So-
played, Sony.
Yeah. So
well
okay.
played.
So on the one hand, it's terrible news that Home actually isn't launching in full in the fall, but it's finally good news that people outside of the UK, as part of the closed beta test, will actually be able to play it. So, sort of, it launches in the fall. It's just going to be called a beta.
I have a quick challenge for our Beyond listeners. A few episodes back, it was a while now. Is when Roper was gone having his baby. I made a point of saying Greg Miller's predicting on this day such and such that Home was going to be a huge bomb. And all this news only, continues to make me feel great about that point. But I forgot to write down what I said so that when Home does bomb, I can cut out that clip and put it in Podcast Beyond.
Yeah.
So someone needs to find that for me.
Okay, very good.
I just wish they'd stop announcing things that aren't coming until they're actually ready for them to hit a shelf or with a,
Phil Harrison.
with a specific date.
This was his plan all along. At GDC last year, he's like, oh, no, it's cool. And they're like, I don't know if this stuff can be ready. And Phil's like, no, totally. Trust me, Sony. It'll work. And then he did it, and he twirled his mustache, and
then
quit.
he left the company.
Yeah.
Yep. There he goes. Perfect plan. Made a fool of them. Metal Gear Online beta was obviously by now was delayed.
that doesn't even get half a clap. That's a what
That's
the
a
hell?
sarcastic clap.
As of what we know right now, it's coming out tomorrow, which would be Friday.
Supposedly.
Maybe in the past for you, if you're listening to it next week or the weekend. But
Can't wait for
right
it to get
now,
delayed till Tuesday.
it's saying 11 p.m. Friday night Pacific. Yeah, it's Pacific Standard Time, 11 p.m.
Well,
Right?
no, supposedly it's Friday. It's the 25th at 2400 hours.
Okay.
PST. Now, whether that's like tonight on Thursday going into Friday or Friday going into Saturday. Nobody knows. Not even Konami technically right now knows. And they still have that disclaimer that it could still move due to unforeseen circumstances. So right now,
so it's like
still
our servers are not prepared for people to want to play this game.
Pretty much. So right now, nobody knows what the hell's going on with this thing.
They didn't.
People would pre-order Metal Gear Solid 4.
They didn't predict a lot of people to be interested in Metal Gear, which is, understandable.
One of the biggest games of the year.
The franchise hasn't done that well in the past, so,
Sarcasm and
sarcasm.
Also, real quick side note: did anyone get? How was that Konami ID working for everybody?
I haven't gotten to that point yet. I've installed the beta, but I haven't done the
I felt
Konami
really
ID.
bad because Jeff tormented over it, tore his flesh.
Almost 60 hours later.
From his bones, and then I went on Sunday, and I was like, doodle-doo. 30 seconds later, I had my
That's
ID.
the thing is, when I was hearing about this problem, I was like, I'm just going to wait, because I can't play it yet. I might as well wait till everybody else has gotten it figured out.
I had struggled the day it came out because I was trying to get in so I could play with Jeff, and then Jeff came into work, and whatever, we went through it together. And then finally I forgot about it, and I went in to do it again, and I kept getting the same thing where I'd put in my real birth date and go to the next page and it would say, due to inactivity, you've been logged out. So finally I just started, I went through, and it was already set to January 1st of 1988 was my birthday. I'm like, sure. And I just went, and that let me through. So don't change anything if that's what you're struggling with.
And type quickly.
Now I already forgot what my password was, though, because there's like 6 passwords you need for that.
I bet it's winter returns winters. Winter. 17 returns winters. Naruto.
That's a pretty good password.
That'd be it.
I was going to say it was going to be pizza. That's my password.
Oh, man, that'd be awesome.
Midway has announced the latest in the Mortal Kombat franchise, which is a pretty crazy deal.
Have we not? You're right. I wasn't even here. I wasn't here last week. I was in Vegas learning all about Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe.
What? This is some crazy business.
I'll have you know, it was the only game at that thing that got a standing ovation.
Are you
now,
serious?
granted, it was only me who stood up and clapped at the end of that presentation. You can read all about it on Brudvig's live blogging of Greg Miller.
But that is certainly crazy, though. We've gotten a whole lot of traffic on the stories that we put up about that. So apparently, a lot of people are very interested in this game.
I'm so worried about that game.
I think that's what most of the comments are too. They're not that like, this is a great idea. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah. So it's going to be.
There's not going to be fatalities from what we've heard.
Which is terrible.
Which is what the hell.
Yeah. But I mean, it makes sense. You can't rip Superman's spine out.
Hey, the franchise is one stable for years and
but
years.
But
being taken out.
Well,
but that's part of the problem. Then it's not Mortal Kombat.
Personally, I always like babyalities.
Yeah.
Remember turning them into cute little babies?
But even
I like friendship.
Even
friendship was good too.
Friendship, animalities. It's like, if you can't kill somebody, what's the point of it being Mortal Kombat?
You just really hurt them.
Precisely. Well, I mean, Mortal Kombat, everybody knows, has the greatest fighting mechanics of any fighter. And sarcasm. And the last bit of news is Rockstar, although they have the small game and sarcasm of Grand Theft Auto 4 coming out next week, they've announced now that Midnight Club is coming out on September 9th, which is pretty cool. Everybody kind of figured it was going to be the fall. Or is it technically still summer? Whatever, September.
Is it?
I don't know. I think it goes to September 20th
I thought
something.
September, like once you were back in school, I remember that being fall.
I think it goes like September 20th or something.
Right.
Yeah, Jeremy knows the crazy dates because we have to do those games this summer.
Jeremy knows everything.
He does.
They're crazy dates.
I got it. Exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Midnight Club's coming out September 9th. But along with the release date announcement, they also said that it's coming to the PSP in the form of LA Remix. So, and I mean, I've seen. It's been a while, but I saw Midnight Club running on the 360 a while ago, and that game looks pretty awesome. And it's been a while since they kind of went into, silence mode to pump up Grand Theft Auto because that needed a whole lot of press because otherwise nobody would have cared.
Nobody even knew what Grand Theft Auto was.
Anyway,
that's your new thing. That has to be like your new thing.
Sarcasm.
Well, the thing is, you have to use it when you're writing in text because most people can't understand. So, anyway, now I'm pulling it into the verbal word. I'm going full circle back to where you start.
I could totally see that being your trademark as like a radio, like a DJ.
That'd be good Beyond shirt.
Yeah, and sarcasm.
And sarcasm.
Actually, yeah. If we get somebody sets up a Cafe Press site with an and sarcasm, sure, I'll totally buy it. Somebody probably already has one.
They probably do. They're still working on our theme.
Now, related to news, Blognack is long dead and rotting in the ground, although resurrected as Zombie Blognack. But his spirit shall die forever. And but to to commemorate his death some number of weeks ago, we still do PSN updates in his name of death or whatever. Anyway, Jeff, why don't you tell us what's happening?
I feel like a weird extra going through Land of the Dead. Anyway,
That movie sucked.
grabbing the information from Zombie Blognac, the PSN today has a lot of content. They put up R-Types, which is the original PlayStation game that had R-Type and R-Type 2. It's available for like $5.99. You can get add-on content for Eye of Judgment, Call of Duty 4, Rock Band, Guitar Hero 3, Karaoke Revolution, American Idol Encore. Greg is totally down with that.
Not really.
Army of Two, the Echo Chrome.
Army.
The Echo Chrome and Iron Man demos are up there. They're
Iron
for
Man
PS
demo.
Yes.
Yeah,
Iron
it's
Man
cooler than
demo.
it sounds.
PSP has Loco Roco and
Wait,
Kingdom
no,
of Paradise
other way.
that you can download.
Opposite.
There's a lot of
Not
themes,
cool.
wallpapers, and there's even a Loco
sarcasm.
Roco track that you can get for free.
So there's a whole lot of crap up there, is in summary.
Jeff, did you see how big Loco Roco for download was for the PSP? Do you know how big the file is?
I did not pay any attention to it.
How big
too
is Bunny?
bad.
So big. That's a Pat the Bunny joke for all you parents out there.
All those hip parents that listen to Beyond.
Yeah. Now, okay, so there's a lot of content that went up on the PlayStation Network this
Yes,
week.
there
But say
is.
you want to go to the store and buy a game because you feel like having a plastic disc.
I'm not
How-
sure where I would go for that.
What, yeah, there's got to be a list somewhere to tell what came out in the stores this week.
Wait, I think I found one. That's
Oh.
right. It's the official IGN list of upcoming PlayStation software on all 3 platforms by the IGN editors.
It's the list, and it's dead. No, it's not working.
Isn't this the one that goes?
Yeah, except I wanted to change it, but I was totally off key, so I decided to stop. and
Apparently
spare
he
myself
It's like
the
that
His
girl
shame.
on
own
American
record.
Idol.
Oh.
All right. PlayStation 3 gets NBA Ballers. Chosen
Ballers?
one. Didn't do too well.
Ballers.
Nate's strapline was "Don't choose this one."
Oh.
And PlayStation
gamer.
2 gets Shumigumi Goobadoo Persona 3 Fez.
Fez?
And
Shoomy Goomy Goobadoo.
yeah, they're gonna put fake words on the title of boxes. I can say whatever I want when those words
PR
come
person
around.
for Atlas is gonna call it. It's gonna be Shoomy Doomy.
Ain't
huh?
around? I don't know. And PSP gets nothing, of course.
Man, PSP is what happened this week?
I don't know. You know, it's not that great of a week for it.
What was
the
that?
hell was that?
Whoa!
What
Did you
was
hear
that
something?
noise?
It's just a box.
Actually, I think it's more than a box. I think it's David Hayter. How are you doing today?
Excellent. Thank you. Very, very well.
Very good. Let's get right into our reader questions here. So our first question comes from our reader named Itchy Frosty Balls, who wants to know how you became the voice actor for Snake, and did you simply fall into it, or did you contact Konami and pitch for the role, or how did that come about?
No. Well, good question, Itchy Balls. I had done a cameo on Captain Planet in 1993.
Awesome.
That's how I got started,
that
too.
was cast. I'm sorry?
That's how I got started too.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I that was my first voiceover job, and it was cast by Chris Zimmerman. And 5 years later, Chris was the voice director for the English version of Metal Gear Solid. And just out of nowhere, I hadn't even spoken to her in 5 years. She called me in to audition for it. I went to this little house in Hollywood where they had tacked up all the artwork for Metal Gear. I took a look at Snake and sort of came up with a voice for it and auditioned, and then they called me and said, you've got the part. So I didn't lobby for it. I didn't know anything about it, really. And it wasn't until we started getting into it that they started to make it clear to me that this was going to be a big, significant game.
That's awesome.
Right on. Well, considering that you've been doing the voice of Snake for a decade, what's it like to basically be at the end of the franchise? I mean, after a decade's worth of work.
Well, it's certainly bittersweet. I had my suspicions when we did the first one that it was going to make quite an impact, and I thought it would be a big game, especially given the fact that we were sort of at the advent of PlayStation 1. The home gaming was really kicking in at that point, and then it's just been an amazing run. The fan response is incredible, and my it's become very schizophrenic between me and Snake. I really start to look at him as a real person and as a real part of my personality. So in one way, it's tough to let him go, but in another way, he was a clone from the beginning, and I can't hang on too tight.
That's true. Although, considering that there seem to be a lot of other offshoot games, kind of like Metal Gear Acid or even the digital graphic novels, would it be possible that we'd see you possibly recreating Snake in some other game down the line if they come up with one?
Well, yeah. I mean, if they ask me to do it, I'll certainly do it. This is probably the funnest job in show business as far as all the jobs I've had anyway, and I do it if they ask me, but I have no idea if they're planning that or not.
Are you in talk to them about perhaps doing other franchises, or are you still? How much are you pursuing more gaming work?
Not at all. I don't act at all anymore, really, except for Snake. And people always ask me, well, are you in talks with Konami about this or that? I'm not in talks with anyone, really. Even on something big like Metal Gear 4, they just call me a couple months beforehand and say, okay, we're doing Metal Gear 4. Are you interested? And we work it out. So look, if they came up with something that they wanted me to do, I would always consider it and consider it seriously, because I like those guys a lot, but I'm not chasing down any acting work.
Wow, that's kind of surprising, because he was in Guyver. I mean, I
was, yeah, that's true, yeah. I started out as an actor, and
right.
I did that for 10 years, and it's a great job to have. It's not a great job to chase after, and now that I'm a relatively successful screenwriter, I don't need to audition for jobs anymore, and so I don't pursue it. I'm one of those guys that if a filmmaker knows me from past jobs and they want to just cast me in a movie, I'll certainly do anything. I'm very much like a prostitute in that manner. But I don't chase it down. I'm not in the mood for all the bullshit that occurs.
Right on. Since you just mentioned screenplay stuff, a couple of our readers, I Am Mackin in particular, wants to know what's up with the Watchmen script and whether it's available online, and how that went.
Well, actually, I just found out on Friday that I got screenplay credit on Watchmen. Myself and Alex C.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It really meant a huge amount to me. I worked on it for 7 years, and
wow.
And it was a big, hairy thing. So, and I think the movie's going to be great. So I'm really proud to be a part of that. And I'm sorry, what was the specifics of the question that you wanted to know?
Is
it available online?
Yeah.
No. It's kept highly confidential. Anybody who wants to read it has to sign non-disclosure agreements and so on and so forth. But
couldn't you put the non-disclosure agreement online so I could sign it there? And then
I think that he's probably...
I guess you could do that.
I think he was probably asking because I know that earlier a lot of people weren't sure whether or not you would get credit for your screenwriting, especially for Watchmen, because a lot of people considered it to be basically the closest comic book adaptation ever written. And so a lot of people were worried whether or not you'd get credit for it or not.
Yeah, well, and a lot of those people included me. People don't understand that writing credits on a movie it's a difficult, ugly process deciding those credits, and it's not always indicative of who actually worked on the movie. So I could have just as easily gotten screwed out of credit, but I was very well supported by the producers who understood that I kind of took it out of this 17-year death that it was in and brought it back, and that it really was my efforts at turning it into a screenplay that sort of got it to the stage that Zach picked it up from. And so it was very cool of them to keep that in mind when they submitted the credits. And then and we had a bit of a credit arbitration, and the Writers Guild arbiters read my material and felt that it was still significantly my screenplay. And so while the script is not posted online, I think you can take from my credit the fact that it is still very, very close to the original material. That was very important to me and to Zack Snyder, that it really stay close to what the book is, because the book is just absolutely brilliant. Why mess with it?
Yeah,
definitely.
Along these sort of lines, but going back to the Metal Gear franchise, Knilink, whatever that name is wondering how much freedom that you have on your end when you're doing voice work over the script. Are you allowed to freeform in any fashion, or do you have to stick specifically by the lines that are written?
Well, excellent question. We can change things in a very minor way. The problem is a lot of times, it has to do with the programming of the Japanese game and the timing of the scenes in Japanese, and it also has to do with the specifics of what Mr. Kojima wants to get across. And so sometimes the problem lies in the translation from Japanese to English, and I speak a little Japanese, and so I'm able to sort of say, well, I think what he means is this, and sort of clarify the translation. And occasionally I'll change a sentence or something just to make it flow better or be more interesting. But every time I do that, I make sure that it's okay with the producers, and for the most part, I stick to the script. So it's not like, they hire me as an actor, not a writer. So I which would be considerably more expensive. And so I try to keep it pretty much within the confines of what they're trying to put across.
Gomez wants to know along the same lines if there were anything that were drastically changed at any point in the franchise due to translation, being the meanings of character names or anything along those lines.
No, absolutely not. That's part of the thing that remains, very strictly translated all the way through. If they're trying to get a point across or a subtle metaphor across with somebody's name, well, we leave it alone. And there's things, there's themes, there's subtle things that run all the way through. That I don't always understand. I mean, in hopefully this doesn't violate anything, but when I did Metal Gear 4, they said, well, sense is a very big theme in Metal Gear 4 for Mr. Kojima. And I said, well, that's interesting because that sentence doesn't make any. So there'd be times when they'd say sense, that where it didn't fit, and then I'd say, well, can we change that? And they'd say, well, no, we can't because it's Mr. Kojima's theme. And I'd say, oh, okay, well then I'll just try to make it work. So no, anything that comes from Mr. Kojima, even if it's difficult to translate, we try to keep it, dead on to what he intended.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And then just regarding the time of how long it takes you to do this sort of thing, Jeff Ramsaroop was wondering how long it took you to do the dialogue for MGS4, but can you also compare that to the previous 3 games?
Yes. Metal Gear 1, I think, took 2 weeks. Metal Gear 2 probably took about 3 weeks. Metal Gear 3 took about a month. And Metal Gear 4 took us from February to October of this year.
Wow!
Oh my God!
Not working constantly, but I mean, just going back and back and back and back. It was, the script had to be 800 to 1,000 pages long.
I can believe it, especially because I've already played it. But yeah. I actually had a follow-up on that, which is considering the voiceover sessions, are they like your traditional voiceover session where you walk into the room and you do your dialogue by itself, or is it kind of a little bit more like a theatrical presentation where all the voice actors are in one room, they read through the script and all those changes, and then kind of get a sense of what's going on with the plot and the story before they begin?
Well, it's sort of in between those two. What I've gotten more demanding as I've gotten more ensconced into this job, and I did request. I always like to do the scenes with the actors I'm acting with because I think it's far better for the performance. And I also, on Metal Gear 3, we just recorded to, I think, just the timing of the of the sentences, so we couldn't see the characters' bodies. And occasionally, Snake is, freaking out. His body is acting wildly, and my voice is just like, well, what do you want to do? And it just doesn't fit. And so I said, look, I really want to see the actors this time, or I want to see the cutscenes as we're doing it, because it'll be far better for the performance. So they said, okay, we'll make that work. Well, they hadn't finished the Japanese game, so what we recorded to were the motion capture actors in their ping pong ball suits, sort of running around the soundstage in Japan, and it was hilarious. I mean, you had the guy playing the monkey, who they eventually shrunk down, but that's a real guy running around in a suit pretending to be a monkey, and so we would record to that. And to answer your question, the other part of your question, we don't really prepare it. I mean, they give you the script in advance, and you can go over it and make notes. But once we get in, we sort of just do it on the fly. But we do it, with each other. You have, I have Otacon there, and we can sort of riff off of each other, and it makes it a much fuller, much more entertaining performance, I think.
Awesome, but that is totally cool. Have there ever been any sections where you and the other actors have basically looked at each other, especially with 4, and just gone, "What the hell does this mean?" Or you just need a refresher because this entire thing covers 20 years of games.
Yeah, well, there's a whole thing. I can't say anything about 4. There are things that there are questions that come up. This really occurred during Metal Gear 2, which still doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know.
Definitely.
I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a training exercise or a dream or what it was.
I think a lot of people have that question.
Well, it was very, really sort of stepped off the deep end, and so there were a lot of questions there. But in 4, we do go back over a lot of the vast history of the game, and so I would try to make clear on, who's Raiden talking about, and what's his relationship to that person, and what's my relationship to that person, and wasn't this the person that, cut off my finger, or, shot my eyeball out, or whatever. I do like to try to be as clear as possible, and they're very good about, like Ryan Payton, who I'm sure you know from Konami.
Definitely.
He was there through all of the recording, and he's very steeped in the lore, so he and I would really sort of get into it and say, well, where did this character come from, and what's the basic history? And we would go over it all, and then that also is very good for performance as well.
David, would you say that you keep in touch with some of the other actors, considering that you guys have been working together for so long, or do you just not get the opportunity to see them that often?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I try not to stay in contact with any of them.
It's okay, you can be honest.
I'm friends with Sniper Wolf and Mei Ling. I've known them for years before Metal Gear. The Colonel I see around town. He's with my voiceover agent, so I see him from time to time. And Otacon, Christopher Randolph, I really only see him when we record, but we have such a good time. This time, he lives in New York, and so he would fly out for the games, and this time we had him over to dinner, so he's more of a friend now. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Deeblin wants to know if you can think of anything that was particularly interesting that might have hit the cutting room floor at some point during one of the games.
No, I don't think anything. I don't think there is a cutting room. If there was, I think they'd be a lot shorter. Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I'm pretty sure that everything we record goes into the games. I believe, as a more serious answer, I believe everything is edited, and cut before the script is put out. I think they decide what it's going to be in advance. Plus, it's not like a movie where you're trimming it to meet an hour and a half or a 2-hour running time. The running time is what it is. And I think with Metal Gear, they feel the more the better. That's so there's not a lot of cutting going on after the fact.
Yeah. Dr. Danger would like to know, are you a big gamer? And if so, what do you think about GTA 4 since that comes out on Tuesday?
Well, Doctor, I am a big gamer. I'm a very specific gamer. There's types of games that I like and I'll play, but I don't play everything. But I have to say, Grand Theft Auto is pretty much my favorite game series. And every time a Grand Theft Auto comes out, my wife just kisses me goodbye for 3 months. And in fact, I'll tell you another story. When I was in London working on Watchmen with Paul Greengrass for 6 months, and I was just stuck in a hotel room in Soho for 6 months, just writing and writing and writing. And I only had one friend there who I rarely saw, and so I was really stuck in my room that whole time. It's really bleak, and all that English food. And what I did was I had the hotel went out and they bought me a PlayStation. Well, they didn't. It was the movie studio paid for the PlayStation, but and I would play Grand Theft Auto 3, so I could pretend I was back home in Los Angeles at night. So I would spend my days in England and my nights in San Andreas.
Awesome.
Very nice. David, do you remember in Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation 1 when you said, Metal Gear?
Metal Gear.
That was awesome.
Which time?
Well, actually, it's well known that you've played and beaten all of the Metal Gear games that you've done voiceover work for. Which one happens to be your favorite of the entire series?
Metal Gear 3. I think that is just an astounding game. I love the story and the performances on Metal Gear 1. And there's stuff I love about Metal Gear 2 as well, but Metal Gear 3 was that's where it really all came together, and I loved stepping back into that other character and seeing all that history. I loved the gameplay of the sniper fight. I like kind of Zen games, that's why I like the stealth action of Metal Gear, and so that sniper battle where you're going back and forth between those two massive environments trying to hunt down this guy who was literally up in the mountains hunting for you, I just thought was astounding. And then the final fight with the boss in the flowers and her in the white suit, and I just thought it was so beautiful and so brilliantly executed. I have to say that's my favorite one so far. Although I'm very excited about Metal Gear 4.
I have a quick question for you also. In light of that, is it weird for you to go back and play a game and hear your own performance throughout the entire franchise, or is that just something you've become accustomed to?
Well, you never totally get used to it. I mean, there's things that, in the first one I hadn't really gotten control of the voice yet, and so there's things that make me cringe in the first one. Like when I said Metal Gear, I think that came out of I kept saying Metal Gear, and they said, no, it's not Metal Gear, it's Metal Gear. And I said, well, why is it that? And they said, it just is. Say it like that. They said, say it like Richard Gere. So that's what's running through my head every time I say Richard Gere. So I can't remember what the question was.
No, yeah, I was just wondering.
Is it weird to hear? Yeah. What's really weird is when I get shot or any of the impact things or getting electrocuted, that stuff just, I remember doing it and it sort of hits you in the gut when you hear it. So, playing it, it sort of seizes up my body while I listen to it. But all the same, it's still pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hear your own voice doing all that.
Thank you. Yeah.
A couple of our readers have some interesting requests and questions about your use of the snake voice outside of the game. Dude Next Door wants to know if you've ever used it at, per se, like a McDonald's or something to speed up the kid behind the counter if they happen to be a Metal Gear fan. Or I would like to know if you've ever gone into the drive-thru and ordered a Big Mac as Snake.
Well, the funny thing about the Snake voice, the people that know it, you do it for them and their faces drop, and it's just a whole, amazing experience. People that don't know it, which is a huge amount of people, you're a moron. So, but I did use it. I went to see Death of a Salesman at the Amundsen Theater with my wife and two friends, and a very cultured evening. I think it was Brian Dennehy was in it. It was wonderful.
The recent remake.
What's that?
It was the recent remake a few years ago.
That's right. The restaging of the whole thing, and there were two people right in front of my wife and I, who were just making out like it was a high school drive-in or something, and like lip smacking and just like this guy got his first kiss at the beginning of the show, and so they were just going for it. And finally, it was too obnoxious to handle, and I leaned down right into the guy's ear, and he wasn't concentrating on me, obviously, and I got right into his ear, and I said, "Get a room." And this guy shot up out of his seat, and the girl kept trying to make out with him, and he was like, no, because he didn't hear it, and it was incredibly effective. It also works on my dogs.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
On a similar sort of but different note, Vinyl Warrior, and I think this is a great request, wants to know if if you could do an answering machine recording of Snake's voice for our listeners to copy out of the podcast and put on their phone. His suggestion is something along the line of, the person you're looking for isn't here, but don't worry, I'm searching. In the meantime, leave a message beyond the beep. So if you can just do any sort of answering machine message, I think that would they would love that.
All right, well, let me step inside. Might be a little quieter. Hello, this is Snake. The person you're trying to reach can't come to the phone right now because we're out hunting Metal Gear. Please, leave a message.
All right, that was probably the greatest thing. Awesome. I think I'm going to have to use that on myself.
That is my cell phone message now.
Awesome. And our last piece of reader mail, we're not done with you, but our last piece of reader mail that we have is from 2779, wants to know, in the showdown of Solid Snake versus Jack Bauer versus Chuck Norris, who would win that one?
Well, I think if you stack Jack Bauer up on top of Chuck Norris, they might be as tall as Snake. So I'm gonna give it to Snake on that one.
Very good.
Awesome. Look, I respect both of those men immensely, but once you've fought a walking nuclear battle tank with a bare hand, Chuck Norris just doesn't cut it anymore.
He does cure cancer with his tears, though.
He does what?
He cures cancer with his tears, except that he never cries.
Oh, well, it's a shame, because that would really come in handy.
Definitely. So what upcoming projects do you happen to have on your plate, considering that Metal Gear is pretty much done? There's no more post-work that you necessarily have to do on the project.
Yeah. Well, the ones coming out, obviously the big ones, Metal Gear 4 is coming out this summer. I've got Watchmen coming out next March, and then the other things I can't really tell you about. Their projects. I have a film that I'm setting up to direct, hopefully this summer, and I just have a number of film projects I'm working on, but they're all confidential, unfortunately.
Could that possible directing bid be the resurrection of Black Widow? I know it's one of your favorite, if not your favorite, character.
Unfortunately, it is not the resurrection of Black Widow, although I would love to see them do that, and please have your readers send emails to Marvel. Problem with Black Widow, we got killed the week that Aeon Flux came out, and then it was sort of widely understood that hot women badasses weren't going to open a movie because of Aeon Flux, which didn't seem particularly fair, because I don't think I would have made my movie the same way. But and then it hasn't been picked up since, because Marvel is only doing their big, their expensive pictures out of their own production deal. So hopefully they will go back and start looking at $30-35 million movies again, and then hopefully Black Widow will be on their list, because I am a fan of the character. I'm very happy with the script, and I would really like to do it. So have your fans write them and just say, "Where's our Black Widow?"
They will. Don't worry.
Right in now, Beyond listeners.
Good. They should. It'd be a kick-ass movie. The thing is, my movies are a little darker than I think Marvel is always comfortable with. We sort of push the edge with the X-Men movies. Watchmen's going to be R-rated, and I would want Black Widow to be R-rated. Although we could probably get away with PG-13, but I like a pretty edgy movie, and so that puts me on the edge of acceptability for Marvel.
No, you keep going with the R rating. That's fine with us.
Ryan just can't watch them.
I agree.
I'm just not allowed to watch them, I guess.
Yeah.
Let me thank you for your time. The interview's been great. I know our readers are going to love listening to this.
Cool. Well, it's my pleasure, guys. I'm a big fan of IGN, and I really appreciate your interest in my endeavors.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
So that was great.
Wow.
That was great.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Very. Once again, thanks to David for calling in. That was a fantastic interview.
Very cool.
And I know we had a ton of reader questions. So I asked probably about a dozen questions on there, but the list of stuff we had was immense. A lot of them were kind of the same sorts of things, but reader feedback was crazy. Although we had a lot of reader mail for David, that doesn't mean that we don't have our standard. Why was I going to say random? Our standard. I'm all kinds of screwed up. Reader mail segment. Let's get to that.
Mail code!
Reader mail?
Mail female!
Junk mail?
Chain mail!
Maelstrom?
Maelstrom?
Mel pattern boldness.
That's a good one.
That's
a very good one.
fantastic.
Thank you to whoever came up with that. That wasn't mine.
Yeah. As a warning right now, right quick, this is a little bit shorter than normal because most of the questions were for David that were submitted, but we still got some pretty good ones in here. Let's see who's this one. It's on 2 pages. Mage Rider wants to know.
Mage Rider.
What do you guys think of the decision to include DC comic book characters in the next Mortal Kombat game? Good idea, bad idea. We just went over this.
Yeah, but I was, hopefully they're doing finishers, so hopefully the finishers will be cool. You figure Superman can throw the dude into the Phantom Zone. There you go. There's
Then
a
he gives
finisher.
him a dozen roses.
No, good for you. That's not doing it.
No, not at all. I mean, like, seriously, it's one of those
Batman
things.
crushes somebody with a giant penny.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, if you can't have the finishers or the fatalities, then it's not Mortal Kombat. If you do kill DC comic book characters, you're going to have people up in arms. But if you don't have fatalities, you're going to have the Mortal Kombat fans up in arms too. So it doesn't really it doesn't work either way. It really doesn't.
The SmackDown 7 says, when will the DualShock 3 begin to be packed in with the PS3 console other than the MGS4 bundle? As I hit on in the Roper Report, I'm pretty pissed off, even though I don't live in the UK or Australia and already have a PlayStation 3, but I'm kind of pissed off that the 6-axis comes with the GTA 4 bundle because it makes no sense. And to me, signals that there's not going to be a huge change to that anytime soon because otherwise you figure they would have kind of introduced it with that, aside from the MGS4 thing. So, man, I don't know. Maybe the fall. I'm hoping by E3 they kind of announce like a repackaging and say, hey, you're going to get this and this in the package with the DualShock being one of the things, but we don't know. I mean, it doesn't look like it's going to happen before E3 at least.
Yeah, they've got to explain something, considering that there's all those rumors about the 80 gig dying until Metal Gear came back, and basically resurrected it like Zombie PS3.
Weren't the rumors of it dying though? I think the rumors. I remember them. And I thought the way I took it, now that we know with Metal Gear, I thought they were trying to get the 80 gigs off the shelf so they could put the Metal Gears out there.
That's kind of the overall understanding that people are coming up to terms with. But part of it is like, if everybody is clearing out all their shelf space and they're being told there aren't any that are going to be manufactured anymore, with the exception of one game, which obviously is a system seller, once that game dies down, it's like, what are you going to do to ship?
Yeah, they should have
consoles?
something pretty quick.
What the hell's going on?
The month afterwards.
So there's got to be something. They've got to come up with something, and they have to fix it. Hopefully, they'll do it at E3.
Rodimus01, which I'm assuming is a homage to Rodimus Prime,
which would be sweet.
Successor to Optimus in Transformers the movie.
Ooh.
Came up after Optimus lost the. Yeah. That was pretty good. Rodimus was a little bitch until he became Rodimus Prime.
Prostate cancer.
Yeah. Anyway, Rodimus01 says, what do you guys think the chances of seeing some Dreamcast ports show up on the PSN like the ones that are appearing on Xbox Live? So the Dreamcast, some of the games on the Dreamcast at least use some version of Windows. It was like the Windows CE operating system. Mm-hmm. The Dreamcast has been long dead, so I don't know the specifics behind this, but it seemed like...
It's still going. You shut up.
Okay, well, whatever. Anyway, there are actually games that eventually randomly come out for that system, unbelievably. But anyway, so I would assume that the fact that it was running on Windows in some fashion, or at least the startup stuff, had some sort of Windows tie, would make it easier to be ported over to Xbox Live, but that could not be it whatsoever.
Depends on what Sega wants to do.
Yeah, I think if PlayStation sales keep increasing, then you'll see titles come over there. I think that's what it comes down to. Some publishers supporting PSN better than others, so we'll see. Capcom is doing a good job of it recently, or upcoming at least, and maybe Sega will do that soon. Let me flip past this page because it has a bunch of crap on it. Here we go. Ski Daddy says,
Ski Daddy.
if you could play only one, choose between these two. Greg, this is for you.
Let's do it.
Actually, let's do you last.
Okay.
Since you're starring in one of these two games. Or you're alter ego to me. Jeff, choose one. WWE Crush Hour 2 or
Hell yeah.
Twisted Metal Head-On Extra Twisted Edition 2.
I'm going Twisted Metal only because I have not seen or experienced the majesty that I've heard is Crush Hour 2. So I can only go with the proven title that I know of.
Ryan?
Twisted Metal.
I got to go with Crush Hour.
Damn right you do.
Is that what you choose?
Yeah, me and Bozone.
There you go.
Roughhousing.
Now,
Driving a car.
You spoiled his secret identity.
3 different. Well, yeah, everybody knows.
Or El Primo Supremo or
El Gringo Supremo.
El Gringo. Yeah.
Go download the insider feature right now.
I think they just launched that at Taco Bell. We went there the other day. Yeah, I didn't order it. I was kind of scared of getting a piece of. I don't. Never mind.
Of Boson?
Yeah, that's not very good. Typhoon 9764 says, do you think Sony or any Sony exclusive publishers will make a major announcement at this year's E3 or Tokyo Game Show that will be of a significant magnitude for the PS3 or PSP?
I hope they do. I really need some
Yes.
good news.
No, maybe. No.
So I think, okay, by significant magnitude, if he's talking about some crazy add-on or like PS3 redesign or or PSP2 or whatever, I don't think so. I think that there may be some pretty major announcements that get people talking. Like, it's possible that not at E3, I don't think, but at TGS, maybe Square is going to come out and say, here's when Final Fantasy is coming out. Put it on everybody's radar. Because right now it's one of those mythological titles everybody talks about coming, but you don't know when it's showing up. So if they come out and say, hey, it's coming out next year around this time, that's big news because now you got a release date. I think it's going to be things like that. We should see some pretty cool stuff at TGS from some Japanese sides of Sony, or perhaps even at E3, but definitely by TGS. And I think there's going to be some pretty cool announcements, but we know most of the big stuff that's coming out. Maybe we'll hear final word on the full Gran Turismo 5 by TGS, I would assume, since it's hopefully coming out by next summer. But I think anything else is unpredictable at this point because all of the major franchises that we're hearing, aside from God of War, which you already know is coming, I don't think anything is going to come out of completely left field. So I think it's going to be kind of, hey, guess what? You kind of already predicted this, but here's solid information on it.
Yeah.
The thing that worries me is that they're going to announce like more stuff that they have in the works, but they're not actually going to do. Like kind of how they did a whole thing with like the PS2, and it's like, okay, you're going to have real video, and then that kind of faded away. Or you're going to have a keyboard for the PSP, and that kind of faded away. Things like
That's
that.
still coming, apparently.
Which is supposedly still coming. It could
2012.
It could be one of those things where it's
And
like,
sarcasm.
yeah. So here comes the Netflix add-on that we're going to do through the store.
Although apparently Netflix is working with Microsoft, according to very strong rumors.
Right. So it could be any number of those kinds of things that just they tease it and then it kind of fades away into possible nothingness.
Or they announce Road Rash.
Exactly.
Man,
Yeah, if you can get exclusive Road Rash, all right, there you go.
exclusive Road Rash on PS3 would be by Criterion.
With the motorcycle add-on, you plug in and you ride back and
With
forth.
Euphoria physics.
Ooh.
The Euphoria
And
animation
dragons?
system would be, and dragons. Dragon is the final boss. We have to ride into its mouth like that World of Warcraft Toyota commercial.
Excellent.
Man, that's
I am the lawgiver.
that would be the business.
I am the last one.
That's I'm gonna stab the reader mail because that's the end of it.
No!
There it goes.
God.
Blood
Stab
of the
me with a pen.
innocent will run in the streets.
It's paper.
Prophecy's seal
You just
has
said
been
this
opened.
You just sent it into Blog Next Cave, dude.
Yeah, he's
That's scary.
well,
Yeah,
zombie
Black
has to eat
Knight's
something.
gonna rise
That's
out
true.
of the ground.
Anyway, pick of the week.
Pick of the week! Fez,
Yes.
Jeff, what'd you give it?
I believe I gave that a 8/8
Why is it so awesome?
because it is. Honestly, they take everything that was great about the original game. They add a ton of new content, a separate mode, and just make the game incredible.
And it's Persona, so I'm like, what, a chameleon or something?
No, personas are the summonable characters that you use with your gun evokers to bring out different parts of your psyche and cast spells or skills, if you will.
Typical Friday night, Greg.
Yeah,
Huh. It's pretty amazing.
it's an awesome game. You should go out and get it, even if you're not an RPG fan.
That brings us, I guess, to the potential editor beatdown. But that seems to be riding on whether MGO
Yeah,
comes out.
Konami keeps screwing up Editor Beatdown, so everybody can write hate mail to Konami, right, Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I know I'm going to be playing it next week in the office. I'm not going to play it this weekend. Too many things to do. But Monday, if it
Beta.
actually comes out, then
Yeah.
I'll be playing it Monday during work hours.
Totally,
So
yeah.
maybe I'll hit up on the boards and say, hey, I'm not eating lunch. I'm going to eat some wheat thins. Come fight me while I have one hand in a bag of wheat thins.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm talking
I
about.
thought that's what you're calling the guys you'd be
Handicap.
beating.
Maybe I'll use my username as wheat thin. Probably not though. Anyway.
But there probably is some kid going like, "Why is everybody shooting me?"
Yeah, shoot wheat thin. If you see wheat thin on the,
Kill Wheat Thin.
if your username is wheat thin, let us know.
We're putting out a hit on you, a beyond hit.
We should make up a random username every week, and then have everybody, if you find that username in any game, and we won't even bother to research it beforehand, we'll just make one up. But there probably will be somebody with that name that you attack him all week long. This week's username of attack, we can think of a better name next week.
Is
Well, what's a better name for this segment?
No.
Unif.
Unif. All right. This might be the only time this ever happens, but this week's username
Attack does not start with an F.
is
Oh, God.
Efficient mailed by Ryan.
this week's username to attack is Wheat
Wheat
Thin.
Thin.
So if you find Wheat Thin, attack.
know.
him.
Also,
yeah.
PlayStation messaging.
I just wrote thanks.
Constantly.
Yes. Add Wheat Thin to your PlayStation thing and see if he shows up. And if so, just keep attacking him. If he's playing a game you don't have, go
With
buy it and
everything.
then attack him.
Poor Wheat Thin.
The Wheat Thin
Send
hit.
pictures.
You know what's going to be rad is he won't listen to this podcast, so have no idea what's happening, and everybody's ganging up on him. All these people want to be his friend. He's like some dude in Russia. That'd be so awesome. Or he actually works at Wheat Thin place. Was it Nabisco?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nabisco.
Wow, we were on that.
Man, that's
Feel that
harmony.
in
That is
stereo.
harmony. You know why? It's because Wheat Thins are amazing, and they bring together
They are good.
the group.
Beyond?
I
This
love Wheat
podcast
Thins.
brought to you by
Beyond
Wheat
Wheat
Thins.
Thins.
Man, it's not brought to us by Wheat Thins, but I wish it was. I want them to send me free product. I will eat Wheat Thins left and right.
All you have to do is mention it, dude. Remember,
Wait
I
a
got all
second,
those Cheez-Its.
That could be bringing in.
I like Ferrari.
That could be bringing in money.
Now you're chancing. Yeah, Wheat
podcast
Thin starts
brought
trying
to
to
you by
influence
Ferrari.
something.
Money that
I don't
Wheat
need
Thin
money
ism.
if people just send me like
Nabisco.
free Wheat Thins, a Ferrari, and Bruce Wayne Manor. I love Batman. So I love Ferrari and I love Batman.
I love Lamb.
This podcast brought to you by the Wayne Enterprises.
So this is going totally crazy.
Yes, it is.
We're
right.
all still on. We're on Hater High.
This is
We're
what
on here
happens
high.
after David Hayter comes in.
Yeah,
Gives you your
nothing's gonna top that
voicemail
one.
message and everything else. It's over.
There we go. That's the end of the show.
Yay.
So
Thanks again to David Hayter. He is
Thank
the
you.
awesomest
yes,
guy
it is very
ever.
great, very
Snake
great.
is awesome.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
That's
It's just not the same.
I know it's not the same, but god damn it, I can dream.
Greg. Do we have a song this week?
We do have a song this week. Real quick, I'm updating everyone. I bought my TV last night.
Very good.
I'm in the high definition.
What did you buy,
era.
Greg? Fill people in.
A 42-inch Panasonic plasma.
Planasonic?
It was off some guy's truck.
Ooh, nice.
1080p set?
1080p.
Yep, there you go.
Awesome.
Very good.
So now I can play Hot Shots Golf and not have my eyes bleed.
Well,
Sweet.
Of course, this song goes out to David Hayter. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a Hall & Oates classic that should have been
Uh-oh.
this theme song for Metal Gear Solid 3.
Uh-oh.
His voice only comes out at night, the lean and hungry type. Everything's new, though I've heard him say it before. Watching and waiting, he'll snap your neck before you go through the door. Whoa, here he comes. Watch out, Meryl, he'll eat you up.
Yes.
Whoa, here he comes. He's a snake eater.
Yes, I am.
Whoa, here he
all
comes.
right, everybody, thanks for
Watch
tuning
out,
in.
Rex,
We
he'll
will see
blow
you
you up.
next week.
Gear.
Thanks, David.
Here he comes.
Metal Gear.
He's Snake Eater. Snake Eater.
Beyond.